Great North Woods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, Brewer police are asking residents to be on alert for fraudulent documents that are a scam. We'll have the details ahead. Plus, 2 candidates running for U.S. Senate gathered at a forum to speak with Indigenous Mainers. More on that to come. And the MDI Biolab secured more than $4 million in funding. We'll tell you about their research as well. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop. Craig Colson is off for the day. We'll have those stories and much more coming up. And as always, we thank you for joining us. The weather today looks like it'll be a partly cloudy day with highs in the upper 60s. Let's start off this morning by getting a first check of our forecast. Devin Biggs joins us now.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. This morning, a little bit of fog developing, especially near the Bangor area, reducing visibility to about 0.2 of a mile. So definitely keep that in mind as you do travel. It may be hard to see for a little while. A few other spots definitely down as well. As we do check things out, the rain is moving out, even some thunderstorms overnight as well. But as we do track this out of here, still some clouds, but we will switch over to some sunshine later on. As we do zoom things out of here, here's that front that's finally moving out. We'll catch a break from the precipitation, but another front, it's way off to the west at the moment, will be moving in with a lot more rain on the way. So here's Futurecast, the clouds breaking up, lots of sunshine. And then once we head towards later on tonight, mostly clear, this will be fog developing as we head towards the overnight period into parts of Saturday morning. So for today, upper 60s, partly cloudy and breezy, and that north wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Your hourly forecast moving forward, some clouds giving way to sunshine with temperatures getting close to 70 degrees. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Janessa?
Thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. Well, first this morning, reports of an armed individual caused multiple lockdowns in Lewiston yesterday, including at Bates College and other area schools. Lewiston police say around 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, officers responded to an incident at St. Mary's Hospital related to an ongoing investigation in Auburn. The person being sought had fled from family members and was believed to be armed with a firearm. Due to the hospital's proximity to Lewiston Middle School, the Lewiston School's superintendent was notified and made the decision to place the school in lockdown for students attending after-school activities. Bates College and other organizations in the area also chose to initiate lockdown procedures. During the course of that investigation, Lewiston police determined that no firearm was observed by family members or any other witnesses, and the subject had made no actual threats to the public. Lewiston police say officers will remain in the area and that investigation remains active. 2 candidates vying for the hotly contested open seat for U.S. Senate gathered last night for a candidate forum to talk with Indigenous Mainers. Our Callie Warren with the details.
And this is just a really great way for everyone to hear about tribal issues prior to the primary.
David Costello and Graham Plattner, both Democrat candidates vying for Susan Collins' Senate seat, attended a forum at Indian Island School Thursday.
But we do have a unique set of circumstances here with tribal sovereignty in the state of Maine, and there's a lot of policy around that, and our relationship with the federal government is so important. So this is a really important place to discuss a lot of that with these people running to represent us.
They listened to what members of the Wabanaki tribe had to say on the issues that matter to them. Many of those discussions revolved around environmental justice, equal water access, and most notably, tribal sovereignty.
We both support unequivocal tribal sovereignty in terms of, there are 574 tribes in the United States. 570 have it. The 4 tribes that don't are those 4 tribes in Maine. So that's why the issue of tribal sovereignty here is so important.
This is exactly the kind of thing that we need to be doing more of. having politicians being very accessible to the array of communities that we are looking to serve and work with. I'm very looking forward to be able to use this as a jumping off point to have much deeper conversations with tribal leadership.
Organizers say more events bringing together candidates and Indigenous folks are in the works, including an upcoming forum in Presque Isle.
But to have a forum in our homelands, in our space, with our people, focused just on our issues feels so awesome, and I'm so thankful for the candidates showing up.
On Indian Island, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Dozens on Indian Island yesterday wore bright blue shirts and walked around the island for a very good cause. The Child Abuse Prevention Walk is organized by the Penobscot Nation Department of Social Services and aims to raise community awareness about child abuse. The walk also helps connect locals with resources and supports networks to protect children and prevent abuse.
Education, resources, prevention starts with connection, and the community walk is connection. Just the awareness of child abuse and strong families make a strong nation, and that is our foundation.
Organizers say the goal of the event is to create stable and safe environments for the local kids. Meanwhile, the Brewer Police Department is asking its residents to be on alert for a fraudulent document that's circulating through the community. Those who receive the document would see that the Cumberland County District Court is issuing a mandatory collection notice for unpaid traffic ticket. But in taking a closer look, you'd also see that the state of Maine seal is incorrect, the state of Michigan is mentioned in the text, not Maine, and the number on the document goes to an unrelated business not associated with Maine.
All through the notice, it's exhausted and terminated, mandatory compliance, urgent. They're trying to pull on the heartstrings of the person receiving the flyer.
Captain Karen and Brewer Police ask that if you receive a similar document, do not scan the QR code, do not provide personal payment information, and definitely do not send money. Those who believe they've been targeted by a scam should contact their local police department. A copy of this document can be found on our website. The families of Maine DOT workers will now receive death benefits if their loved one is killed on the job. The new law comes just days before Maine's observance of National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week gets underway on Monday. As our Alex Schley tells us, officials say there are simple things that you can do to help make Maine highways safer.
Thursday, Maine Governor Janet Mills signed legislation into law extending line-of-duty death benefits to Department of Transportation workers,
which have applied for many years to public service, public safety employees, fire marshal's office, EMS people, and corrections people.
The law is also a tribute to 2 Maine DOT workers struck and killed on the job in Waterville earlier this year.
May Jimmy Brown and Dwayne Campbell's lives be a lasting tribute to public service. And may their legacy be that we all take greater responsibility for the safety of men and women in Maine who are working on our roadways.
Under the new law, families will receive $100,000 in the event of a work zone fatality,
some of which can be advanced to families in times of need. And it applies basically retroactively to the families of Dwayne Campbell and Jimmy Brown.
Officials say on average there are more than 600 incidents in Maine work zones each year.
We all see cars go by us fairly rapidly, but when it's only a few feet, and even behind a Jersey barrier, it just feels different.
As part of this year's campaign, officials are urging drivers to see cones, think people. That message is being visually represented by a memorial of cones in front of the Safety and Performance Training Center, each one representing a Maine DOT worker who has died on the job. The Department of Transportation is also asking drivers to sign a work zone safety pledge, vowing to slow down, stay alert, and respect people in work zones. We'll have a link to the pledge on our website, foxbangor.com. In Fairfield, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
In other news this morning, the financial outlook of one of Maine's largest healthcare systems was just upgraded by a major financial institution. Standard & Poor's upgraded Northern Light Health's financial outlook from negative to stable. System leadership says the upgrade means their hard work is paying off when it comes to addressing some major financial challenges over the past couple of years. They work to improve the organization's operations and efficiency, as well as making reductions in administrative costs and services.
This represents the fact that we've worked hard as a team across the whole. Everybody's been involved in the work and very focused on the things we could do to improve the way we operate. And I think this represents the fact that we've been successful in starting that journey.
Roba stressed that the healthcare sector continues to face challenges in terms of federal and state regulatory changes, as well as rising costs. But he says they will continue to effort positive change, and patients can expect continued access to care. The MDI Biological Laboratory in Bar Harbor is a leader in regeneration science and medicine. The institution recently secured a major funding boost that researchers say reinforces the lab's expanding role in the life sciences economy. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
For decades, the MDI Biolab has been pioneering new approaches in regenerative medicine. This month, the institution secured more than $4 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health, ensuring ongoing research initiatives.
This is critical to advance these studies and really create a strong intellectual relation with current modern biomedicine and how diseases are treated.
The latest award will support research led by Dr. Prayag Mirawala that explores how vertebrates can regenerate tissues after injury.
So this is what my lab is working to understand. If they can regenerate, what is it that we lack and why can't we regenerate?
He says the funding provides their team with the opportunity to explore discoveries that could help guide future approaches to repairing human tissues.
The grant like MIRA gives us freedom to explore the science that we think is important.
The campus itself is also experiencing major growth.
So this is going to be the main laboratory space right here.
They are nearing the completion of the Neal Laboratory, which, thanks to congressional funding, will support training and development of therapeutic initiatives.
There's this big biotech boom in southern Maine in particular. To see that extend all the way up here to the MDI Biological Lab is really amazing.
Researchers hope to see their efforts continue to strengthen Maine's role in regeneration science and Maine's workforce.
Having the state behind us, having the federal government behind us, it gives us a real momentum for the future to keep going and expand.
In Bar Harbor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 6:12. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, we'll have an update on the Maine DOT Hogan Road construction and Sweats Tire and Auto. But first, let's take another look at our forecast. For today, partly cloudy and breezy with highs near 70. Overnight tonight, mostly clear with some areas of dense fog, temperatures in the high 30s. And for tomorrow, partly cloudy and breezy as well with highs around 63. We'll be right back.
Lights, camera, cheese! The Cheese House is looking for its next star, and it could be you. If you're 21 or older, enter for your chance to appear in the next commercial. Stop by the Cheese House at 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield to enter. While you're there, browse their huge selection of glassware and 420 specialty foods. But we have the cheese! Remember, entries are happening in person at the Cheese House, 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield. Bring your personality, bring your smile, and we have the cheese.
Pat's Pizza in Holden is not just a restaurant that serves delicious food and pizza. They also have an adjacent party and event room. Consider having your birthday or office party at Pat's Pizza. They have a pro shop and a beautiful 9-hole golf course opening in the spring. Pat's Pizza, Holden.
Baby monkey, baby Punch. I love this monkey.
He's a celebrity A-lister, the most famous monkey in the world. It's Punch. And this morning, the interview everyone will be talking about.
Punch has a girlfriend?
We're in Japan with Punch. First on Good Morning America.
5 signs that text, email, or call is a scam. Number 1, you weren't expecting it. Number 2, it says there's a prize or a problem. Number 3, they want personal information. Number 4, they pressure you to act quickly. Number 5, they ask you to pay a specific way. There will always be scammers, but you don't have to be their victim. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Office of the Secretary of State.
Hollywood Casino welcomed dozens of potential members to their team with a job fair on Thursday afternoon. The event brought together interested candidates and hiring managers, helping the casino to potentially fill some open positions. Organizers say the turnout was exciting and that they hope that the job fair helps personalize and streamline that hiring process.
We're all about, developing our team. We have great resources, great benefits for our team, and an incredible work environment, whether it's in gaming operations, food and beverage, marketing, hotel. The sky's the limit. Opportunity for everybody.
Well, if you missed yesterday afternoon's job fair but are interested in joining the Hollywood Casino team, you can go to hollywoodcasinobangor.com. Earlier this month, we spoke with the manager of Sweat's Tire and Auto on Hogan Road about the planned Department of Transportation project that the business feared would jeopardize its operations. We're now learning that the two parties are working toward an agreement. The Maine DOT's Bangor Diverging Diamond Interchange project aims to replace the oldest portion of the Hogan Road overpass. However, Sweat's Tire and Auto management said it would make entering and exiting the business's parking lot very challenging unless the DOT constructed a rear entrance for them. While it was uncertain if the DOT would honor that agreement, progress has been made. We're told by General Manager Prentice Sweat that attorneys for both parties have been working together, with meetings still happening as of Thursday morning. Sweat says it appears the DOT is going to move forward with a slightly modified version of their original agreement that should address the business's concerns. That project is set to begin early next week. Students that go to college to learn, and learning can take many forms these days. Yesterday was a day for Husson students to reflect on what they've done. This was Husson University's 16th annual Research and Scholarship Day. Organizers say it gives students, faculty, and staff a chance to showcase projects that they've been working on.
Be really proud and show off to everybody all the amazing work that they've done, and also provide an opportunity for faculty and students to collaborate, exchange ideas, make new connections, and hopefully inspire the next generation of researchers in their specific fields.
45 projects from a variety of subjects were on display, including an early warning system for campus cyber attack risks, treating fatigue and treatments for pediatric intensive care unit patients. The time now is 6:17. After the break, we have a developing story as musician David was arrested overnight in connection with a murder investigation. Plus, a collective in Searsport is hoping to preserve blueberry barrens. Those stories and more straight ahead on Good Morning Maine.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
For the perfect floral arrangement, look no further than Luigi and Fredericks in Bangor. Our expert florists beautifully arrange flowers for any celebration or occasion. Trust Luigi and Fredericks for bouquets that brighten anyone's day.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Hey! That ought to do it.
Who hurt you?
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
Of women known as the Wild Blueberry Collective is working to preserve old blueberry barrens in Searsport with the goal of returning the land to its community. Our Doug Banks met up with them and has the story.
The road is long, but the destination is worth saving.
We're a group of women that is trying to conserve this blueberry barren.
Specifically, this 158-acre blueberry barren in Searsport. Owned by Wyman's, the land went up for sale in the fall of 2025. Sparking the Wild Blueberry Collective to officially become a nonprofit 3 months ago.
But Gloria and I have been talking about doing something since we met each other about 6 years ago.
We have just been talking about this and working on this for every single day for the past 3 months.
Vaquero and Pierce say they put money down to have a contract on the land, but they need to raise $750,000 by July 15th.
We have a lot more goal to go.
They've applied for upwards of $800,000 worth of grants so far.
But the kind of scary part is the timing. Most of those we won't find out about until June and July. I feel like something that has been so special and so important to Maine and the Wabanaki Confederacy for thousands of years is at some serious risk.
She says there used to be around 150,000 acres of wild blueberry barrens across Maine like this one. Today, less than 50,000 acres remain. The collective wants to turn an old barren into a collective space open for the community.
For access to food, for access to learning, and recreation.
As well as a space to sustain the making of trails, paying of teachers for classes.
To learn more about the collective, visit foxbangor.com. In Searsport, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 6:20. Let's get a full look at our forecast. Meteorologist Devin Biggs is in with the latest.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. We have some fog developing this morning, especially over the Bangor area, keeping us down to about 0.2 of a mile. A few other areas seeing some reduced visibility because of the fog as well. Definitely keep that considered as you do make your morning commute to work or school. Thankfully, wave heights are down, so we have no advisories along the coast as well. But if you look farther out towards sea, a little more active at around 4 to 5 feet, so definitely not too terrible as we have a front moving away from us. Now, speaking of front, we had showers and thunderstorms passing through overnight. Again, definitely helping us out. Still dealing with drought. The new drought monitor came out. Not as much good news as I was hoping, but again, we'll still take the precipitation, any amount, definitely helping us out. We just don't want too much in a short amount of time. But as this system moves out, we have a break with high pressure, then more activity off toward the west that will eventually move in our direction. But in the meantime, we do have a break with a partly cloudy sky today. Overnight will be mostly clear. This is fog that will eventually develop as we head towards your Saturday. That will break up with plenty of sunshine and a few passing clouds. And as we head towards Saturday evening, some more development with clouds and eventually some rain on the way as we head towards your Sunday. Here's the newest drought monitor. Again, not much good news as I was hoping. Still a moderate to severe drought. So again, we'll keep the rain coming. Just again, we want to spread that out just a bit. Again, we'll still take the rainfall to help kind of make a dent in that drought. But in the meantime, as we do zoom things out, some areas seeing improvement, but we definitely want some rain in other spots that are still dealing with a lot of drought at this time. But for today, partly cloudy and breezy, upper 60s for the high, north wind at around 20 miles per hour. Overnight, mostly clear, areas of dense fog with lows in the upper 30s and that northeast wind at about 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, partly cloudy and breezy with highs in the low 60s and that southeast wind at about 20 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Rain likely coming up for your Sunday with highs in the low 50s, mid 40s coming up for your Monday under a partly cloudy sky. Partly cloudy Tuesday with highs also in the mid 40s.
Welcome to outdoor living. Welcome to Granville Stone and Hearth. Goodness knows we've been cooped up long enough. Make plans now to enjoy the outside of your home, too. Come to Granville and see, touch, and imagine what you can do in your backyard. Light a path, light a fire, grill a meal, sit a bit. It's all in stock. There's a staycation right outside your door with expert help from Granville, one of the largest outdoor living suppliers in Maine. Granville Stone and Hearth, Main Road, Holden.
When I was 29, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I think part of research and advocating for more money for cancer research allows survivors to have more time. Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, they can have better outcomes, and therefore they can live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
Are you in need of remodeling your bathroom? Want to convert your tub into a safe walk-in shower? Call the experts at Bangor Bathrooms by Design now. They offer complete bathroom remodels, and from start to finish, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call them now and save thousands. 659-6457. Enjoy that brand new bathroom you've always wanted from Bangor Bathrooms by Design. Transforming bathrooms, elevating lives.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
The ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran is set to expire in a matter of days. President Trump insists an end to the war is near, even suggesting another round of negotiations could happen this weekend. But the president also says he's prepared for the fighting to ramp up again as he downplays the effects of the war. ABC's Christian Cordero has the latest from Washington.
This morning, with just days to go before the fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran expires, President Trump insists the finish line is near, despite no long-term deal cut nor apparent progress in negotiations.
The war in Iran is going along swimmingly. We can do whatever we want. And it should be ending pretty soon.
A ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon is also officially in effect for the next week and a half. And if there's no long-term deal cut before the crucial deadlines, Trump yesterday said,
"If there's no deal, fighting resume."
Before walking it back 5 minutes later, saying extending the ceasefire is also an option.
If we need to, I would do that.
Gas prices in the U.S. have spiked by more than $1 since the war began, today at $4.09 per gallon. Trump downplayed those costs when pressed by ABC's Rachel Scott.
How much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon with the danger that entails.
Industry experts warn prices will continue to rise globally, impacting prices from the pump to the grocery store as the Strait of Hormuz remains closed and oil stockpiles dwindle. Officials say some airlines in Europe could run out of jet fuel ahead of the busy summer travel season.
We have maybe 6 weeks or so jet fuel left. If we are not able to open the Strait of Hormuz.
The president, meanwhile, is continuing his feud with the Pope, claiming Pope Leo is fine with Iran having a nuclear weapon, which he never said. The Pope has criticized the president for threatening to destroy Iranian civilization while also focusing his message on peace. Christian Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
The House has approved a short-term renewal until April 30th of a controversial surveillance program used by U.S. spy agencies. The action came in a post-midnight session on Friday after Republicans revolted and refused President Donald Trump's push for a longer extension. Republican leaders late on Thursday had rushed out last-minute changes and called lawmakers back for a middle-of-the-night vote. Their proposal would have extended the program for 5 years with revisions, but the effort collapsed. At the center of the standoff is Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which permits the CIA, National Security Agency, FBI, and other agencies to collect and analyze vast amounts of overseas communications without a warrant. Well, Democrats hold on to the New Jersey House seat on Thursday following a special election. 48-year-old Ana Lilia Mejia won the 11th district seat vacated by Mikey Sherrill, defeating Republican challenger Joe Hathaway. Sherrill was elected governor of New Jersey in 2025. Mejia is a former head of the Working Families Alliance and had the support of progressives like U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Mejia gave credit in her victory speech and her family and her election team and stood up for the needs of working class while calling out who she defines as the real radical class of leaders, saying they have to be resisted.
It is not radical to say that in the wealthiest nation in the world, that we should do more to protect the health of its people. There should be no American forced to ration their insulin, their heart medication, or to be denied care that their doctor has said they need and an insurance company wants to deny. That is unconscionable. That is what's radical. That is what's crazy.
Well, Mejia's special election win guarantees her the House seat only until January of 2027. She and Republican Joe Hathaway could potentially face off again in November for a full 2-year term. Well, moving on, a developing story overnight. The popular singer known as David has been arrested in connection with the alleged murder of a teenager. Here's ABC's Andrea Fujii.
Overnight, the singer known as David under arrest in connection with the death of a 14-year-old girl. Video obtained by TMZ shows him taken into custody. David, whose full name is David Burke, has tens of millions of followers online. He was on tour last September when the decomposing body of Celeste Rivas was found in the trunk of his Tesla in Los Angeles. The car had been abandoned. Authorities believe Rivas may have been dead for weeks. Officials tell ABC News one hurdle for the medical examiner was determining cause of death because of the state of her body. They say much of the case hinged on whether Rivas was murdered, though how she died has still not been revealed. Burke's attorneys insist their client is innocent, saying there has been no indictment returned by any grand jury in this case and no criminal complaint filed. David has only been detained under suspicion. We will vigorously defend David's innocence. The 21-year-old has had a meteoric rise in the industry.
I killed you, and I didn't even regret it.
One of his popular songs, his 2022 hit, Romantic Homicide. He spoke last year with our Lindsay Davis.
Success has kind of been quite literally overnight, so it's kind of hard to kind of be in the moment sometimes, but I'm just taking it in slowly, appreciating it.
Amid questions about any links or possible relationship between Burke and Rivas, the medical examiner said Rivas had a tattoo on her index finger reading, "Shh." Burke has the same tattoo in the same location, but that tattoo is not uncommon among performers.
Burke is being held without bail. The DA's office is expected to get the case next week and will review it to determine whether to file charges. Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, the Artemis crew is giving us new insight on their mission. This and more as Good Morning Maine continues.
We can go into a room and have absolutely nothing in there, nothing on the windows, no color, no character, no tone to a room.
That's, I think, where we're strongest, is being able to help someone envision what's going to go in that window.
And we leave, it's totally transformed into something that the customer wants it to be. We've often been told we make a room look better just by leaving it.
Davis Brothers Furniture is expanding. At Davis Brothers, we've always strived to stand out from the rest, and we are now proud to offer flooring for your home, featuring both carpeting and luxury vinyl flooring. We even have an installer in-house with over 30 years of experience. Come see the reason people have been traveling from all over the state and beyond to Davis Brothers Furniture in Guilford for decades. Davis Brothers Furniture, deliberately different, delivering statewide.
Jamar Construction Products in Bangor continues to grow to meet our customers' needs, supplying products for site work contractors, concrete contractors, and survey and safety supplies. We are proud to be the local dealer for Hilti, Valley Blades, U.S. Fabrics, and Euclid Chemical, plus so much more. Stop by and see us at 1270 Hammond Street, or give us a call at 907-4491. If you dig it, pour it, plow it, fasten it, lay it, or lift it, Jamar Construction Products can help you.
Give your home or business a clean slate. From roofs to carpets, siding to storefronts, we clean it all, inside and out. Locally owned, fully insured, and committed to quality. No job too big or small. Message us on Facebook at Clean Slate Services 207 or call 207-631-0500 for a free estimate. Clean Slate Services. Your property renewed.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Now to the astronauts home from the moon sharing their story. ABC's Hannah Battah has more.
We are bonded forever. I mean, that's the closest four humans can be and not be a family.
The Artemis II crew is giving us new insight into what they saw during their voyage to the far side of the moon.
When the sun eclipsed behind the moon, I said, I don't think humanity has evolved to the point of being able to comprehend what we are looking at right now, because it was otherworldly and it was amazing.
You'll remember the crew honored Commander Wiseman's late wife, who died of cancer, by unofficially naming a moon crater in her memory.
It's a bright spot on the moon, and we would like to call it Carol, and you spell that C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
Commander, I wonder what that moment was like for you.
It's the pinnacle of my entire life to be able to do something like that on this crew, to honor a woman who was so amazing and the mother of my two daughters.
Mission specialist Christina Cook described to our David Muir their plunge back into Earth's atmosphere when their capsule withstood temperatures up to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
The fireball that we were in got so bright that it was like an arc welder. You almost couldn't even look at it. That rumbling was not something we could have ever practiced on Earth.
When Cook got home, her dog was overjoyed to see her. But she says it was what her husband said during a video call that brought her to tears.
When my husband looked me in the eye on that video call and said, "No, really, you've made a difference," it brought tears to my eyes, and I said, that's all we ever wanted.
The crew hoping to inspire a new generation of scientists, urging young people to challenge themselves.
You have to go do really hard, really challenging things.
Find your fulfillment, do what scares you.
The next mission, Artemis III, is scheduled next year with the moon landing in 2028. Hannah Battah, ABC News, New York.
Now let's turn things right back over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. This morning, a little bit of fog developing, especially near the Bangor area, reducing visibility to about 0.2 of a mile. So definitely keep that in mind as you do travel. It may be hard to see for a little while. A few other spots definitely down as well. As we do check things out, the rain is moving out, even some thunderstorms overnight as well. But as we do track this out of here, still some clouds, but we will switch over to some sunshine later on. As we do zoom things out of here, here's that front that's finally moving out. We'll catch a break from the precipitation, but another front, it's way off to the west at the moment, will be moving in with a lot more rain on the way. So here's Futurecast, the clouds breaking up, lots of sunshine. And then once we head towards later on tonight, mostly clear, this will be fog developing as we head towards the overnight period and the parts of Saturday morning. So for today, upper 60s, partly cloudy and breezy, and that north wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Your hourly forecast moving forward, some clouds giving way to sunshine with temperatures getting close to 70 degrees. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Janessa?
Thank you, Devin. While a South Korean pianist shows the value of perseverance after a debilitating condition threatens to take away his talent, pianist Lee Hun has made a comeback at doing what he loves to do, excel in a concert piano music. Lee was a doctoral candidate at the music school at the University of Cincinnati when he suffered a stroke in August of 2012. Following his surgery, Hun was then left with 60% of his brain's left side damage, no use of his right arm and leg, and suffered from temporary asphyxia, impairing the ability to communicate. But his mentor, Chung Young-hae, encouraged him to not give up on his passion, saying there was 1,000 pieces of music that could be played with only his left hand alone. Since making his comeback as a one-handed performer, Han has played recitals, appeared on TV programs, and even written a memoir. Lee will perform on May 2nd at the International Music Festival in South Korea with a festival orchestra performing Ravel's Piano Concerto for the Left Hand, with hopes that to one day play again with both of his hands. Well, still to come here this morning, Max Sturm with sports. Don't go away.
With over 30 years of experience, Patriot General Contractors knows how to get your home renovation project done right. Our certified contractors can help you build, redesign, or finish the project of your dreams. Check out Facebook page for reviews and visit patriotgeneralcontractors.com to schedule your quote today. Patriot General Contractors, redesigning your properties for the future.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Hi, Butch Robichaud from J&J Auto Salvage. Yep, been here 40 years, retiring this year. Turning the reins over to Anthony and the boys, hope to serve you for another 40 years. The next time you're thinking about saving money on your car, give us a call. We got fenders, doors, motors, transmissions, you name it, whatever it is, we have it. We're down on the Brewer Lake Road. Everything we sell carries a 90-day warranty. And don't forget, best attitude in the business.
Welcome back in, folks. Senior athletes around the state continue to prepare for their collegiate careers, and on Wednesday, Hamden Academy honored their seniors. Players from a variety of sports gathered at Hamden Academy on Wednesday to celebrate their accomplishments. The Broncos have a total of 17 senior athletes going to compete at the collegiate level, and the athletic director, John McCallan, says their commitment not only shows off the athletic talent of these players, but it also highlights their academic accomplishments.
To have 17 of those kids doing that is a huge accomplishment for those individuals, and many of them, as I stated their profile sheets, they are all academic kids, you know, so it's something to be proud of. Once you get to the collegiate level, it just gets to a higher level, you know, you have to be in a higher level of performance, higher level of responsibility and whatnot, and but I have strong belief in our kids, and I think they'll do great.
Lydia Powers is a senior and multi-sport athlete at Hamden Academy. She is committed to the University of Maine to study nursing and will join the cheer team. She says Hamden Academy has prepared her well for what's next at both the academic and athletic level, and she is excited to join the Black Bears team.
I know a couple of the girls already on the team, so that makes me feel a little better about it, but yeah, I think I'm pretty prepared. I'm excited to meet a lot of girls that I've never cheered with before, hopefully find a roommate and just make some good friends and have a good time.
High school baseball in the state of Maine is almost here. Teams have been practicing hard when they can get outside, but today a preseason scrimmage was played between the Old Town Coyotes and the Brewer Witches, which we have for you now. Both teams are set to begin the regular season in their place starting next week, but why not get some game time experience in beforehand? First inning, Old Town at bat. Tyler Priest puts one deep and gets him on to first, sends a runner to third. Then Jack Braun hits a ball into left field. That allows for Julian Duty to walk to home plate for the game's first run. It's 1-0 Old Town. Now watch this play. The ball is hit deep into left field, and out of nowhere, Eli Wall makes a fantastic diving catch to record the second out of the first inning. Top of the first is finally closed out by Cody Hughes, and now it's the Witches' turn at the plate. And check out this play, this double play picked up Toss goes to Duty, and then at second base, and then the throw to Priest at first. And then in the third, Brewer makes it 2-1 when this hit goes long, and Liam Greenwald locks it in. Both of these teams look strong as innings went on, and we're excited for the start of the regular season. The Patriots are gearing up for the NFL draft, which is crazily enough just a week away and will take place next Thursday in Pittsburgh. The Pats hold 11 picks in this year's draft, and one of the few positions they could target would be wide receiver. Now, there's been a lot of speculation surrounding the Patriots and Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown, who the Eagles have hinted may be available for the right price, more than likely draft picks. But there's still a chance the Eagles could hold on to Brown until after June 1st, when his dead cap hit would fall from $40 million to $20 million. Whatever the case may be, Pat's VP of player personnel, Elliot Wolf, says the lines of communication will remain open.
As far as players on other teams, again, going to keep the door open to anything that we think may improve our roster, whether that's with the player you mentioned or other players.
All right, Boston sports fans, get ready for this weekend, and especially Sunday, because it is stacked with Boston sports. Let's take a look at the schedule here on Sunday, 1 p.m., 76ers at Celtics. Game 1 is on NBC. That series should be very, very exciting. 1:35 p.m., Tigers at Red Sox. Game 3 of 4, Framber Valdez and Garrett Crochet will be on display on NESN. And then to be determined, but the Sabres and the Bruins will go at it in Buffalo for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs opening round, and that will be on ESPN and on NESN. NIL contracts have become a major part of college athletics over the past 10 years. And for some of you at home, you may be wondering what NIL looks like in the state of Maine. Just to recap, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness, and it allows collegiate athletes to profit from the use of their image through endorsements, marketing, and commercial appearances. It is widely used among the country's top Division I programs, but the University of Maine also gets the privilege of allowing players to make money through NIL. Ace Flag is a perfect example of NIL in the state of Maine. Flag partnered with T-Mobile, which allows him to be paid to appear at events in ads for the company. Recently, Flag attended a youth basketball clinic as a part of his deal with T-Mobile and says that events like this are the greatest part of it all.
And that's one of the greatest things about it, like things you never expect. I mean, we're here with like you said, a service provider. Doing a basketball clinic and, just helping out these kids and letting them have a good time while also, experiencing what a basketball is like. So it's just amazing.
We had an NIL partnership with Ace and his brother Hunter, and they've been fantastic at helping us tell our Better Together story. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to just share that story with the community.
That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Find your flavor at Black Sheep Restaurant in Sullivan. Breakfast so good on Tuesdays, even the toast gets a standing ovation. Wednesday to Saturday, we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sundays, we brunch 9 to 1. Black Sheep Restaurant, where the food is bold and the sheep are only slightly judgmental.
Ready, set, let's go! Come to the open house at Greenway Equipment Sales in Ellsworth this Saturday and get geared up for the season. Celebrate spring and save on John Deere equipment. Take advantage of Deere season financing on John Deere compact utility and lawn tractors, Z-Trax, and Gators. Save hundreds on tractor attachments. Get 10% off all in-stock parts. And grab one-day only Greenway dollars for even more savings. The Smith Brothers invite you to their open house celebration this Saturday at Greenway Equipment Sales in Ellsworth.
Who has the best kept secret in Penobscot County? We do! Welcome to Maple Lane Farms, a fifth-generation family farm that's committed to providing you with the best quality products. Our farm-raised local and sustainable meat is flash frozen to lock in the freshness and natural flavors. Experience the top-notch quality of our meat that's naturally raised without any antibiotics or hormones. Get the best of both worlds, quality and affordability. Try Maple Lane Farms today, the candy store for the carnivore.
Find your flavor at Black Sheep Restaurant in Sullivan. Breakfast so good on Tuesdays, even the toast gets a standing ovation. Wednesday to Saturday, we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sundays, we brunch 9 to 1. Black Sheep Restaurant, where the food is bold and the sheep are only slightly judgmental.
Welcome back, everyone. Workout guru Jack LaLanne launched his pioneering show back in 1951, teaching ordinary people how they can improve their health and their lives through exercise. But he had a lot of help from his wife, Elaine, who herself is now celebrating a milestone. ABC's Danny New with more.
Before trendy Pilates and HIIT classes took over social media, Jack and Elaine LaLanne were perhaps the first folks to preach fitness nationwide on a visual medium.
He never, ever missed a workout. Never, ever.
The Jack LaLanne Show celebrates its 75th anniversary this year.
1, 2, 3, 4.
After running on ABC for decades, it is considered both the first and longest running fitness TV show ever in a time when
Women in my day, you know, until he started on television, we didn't think about working out and going to a gym.
But even though the man considered the godfather of fitness passed away in 2011 at age 96, the First Lady of Fitness has kept her husband's legacy and passion going strong.
Happy birthday.
In fact, not only did she just celebrate her 100th birthday,
2, 3.
but Elaine tells me she still completes 30 jackknives every day.
I don't work out like I used to.
If you're doing 30 jackknives a day, that's pretty good, Elaine.
Oh yeah, I've got a very strong core.
45.
I did a 45.
Also, she's been known to work out with actor and fitness fanatic Mark Wahlberg, who actually has been working to make both a documentary and movie about LaLanne, where he would play Jack.
It was Jack LaLanne is the most famous name ever connected to fitness in the history of the world.
During a press tour for his latest film, I interviewed Wahlberg about his plans for the movie and specifically if he may try and recreate any of the famous feats Jack pulled off later in life, like swimming and pulling boats full of people into his 70s.
I got to get comfortable enough to walk out of the trailer in that Speedo. But I'll do it. I'll do it.
You'll do it for Elaine.
Yeah, absolutely. She's wonderful.
He says they're working on the documentary now and hope to get the movie out next. Meanwhile, Elaine has a new book out called Her Legacy, and it's much easier to hold up. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
Well, now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. We have some fog developing this morning, especially over the Bangor area, keeping us down to about 0.2 of a mile. A few other areas seeing some reduced visibility because of the fog as well. Definitely keep that considered as you do make your morning commute to work or school. Thankfully, wave heights are down, so we have no advisories along the coast as well. But if you look farther out towards sea, a little more active at around 4 to 5 feet, so definitely not too terrible as we have a front moving away from us. Now, speaking of front, we had showers and thunderstorms passing through overnight. Again, definitely helping us out. Still dealing with drought. The new drought monitor came out. Not as much good news as I was hoping, but again, we'll still take the precipitation, any amount, definitely helping us out. We just don't want too much in a short amount of time. But as this system moves out, we have a break with high pressure, then more activity off toward the west that will eventually move in our direction. But in the meantime, we do have a break with a partly cloudy sky today. Overnight will be mostly clear. This is fog that will eventually develop as we head towards your Saturday. That will break up with plenty of sunshine and a few passing clouds. And as we head towards Saturday evening, some more development with clouds and eventually some rain on the way as we head towards your Sunday. Here's the newest drought monitor. Again, not much good news as I was hoping. Still a moderate to severe drought. So again, we'll keep the rain coming. Just again, we want to spread that out just a bit. Again, we'll still take the rainfall to help kind of make a dent in that drought. But in the meantime, as we do zoom things out, some areas seeing improvement, but we definitely want some rain in other spots that are still dealing with a lot of drought at this time. But for today, partly cloudy and breezy, upper 60s for the high, north wind at around 20 miles per hour. Overnight, mostly clear, areas of dense fog, with lows in the upper 30s and a northeast wind at about 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, partly cloudy and breezy with highs in the low 60s and a southeast wind at about 20 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Rain likely coming up for your Sunday with highs in the low 50s, mid 40s coming up for your Monday under a partly cloudy sky. Partly cloudy Tuesday with highs also in the mid 40s.
When I had first left for college, I was super excited to start pursuing my dreams, and I had met so many amazing people my freshman year. Yeah, some days were really hard, balancing work life and classes, but most of them, they were the best of my life, because I had something not everyone gets. A dad inspiring me every step of the way, and I'm so happy to graduate beside you.
I got hurt by a big truck. Why did I call the twos? Because life-changing injuries deserve life-changing money, and I'll fight to get it for you. We got a client who broke multiple bones in a commercial vehicle accident, $700,000. Another client had a brain injury, and we got them $1.15 million. If you get hurt by a big truck, call the twos. We win for you.
Hurt by a big truck, call the twos. We win for you.
Are you in need of remodeling your bathroom? Want to convert your tub into a safe walk-in shower? Call the experts at Bangor Bathrooms by Design now. They offer complete bathroom remodels, and from start to finish, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call them now and save thousands. 659-6457. Enjoy that brand new bathroom you've always wanted from Bangor Bathrooms by Design. Transforming bathrooms, elevating lives.
Pat's Pizza in Holden is not just a restaurant that serves delicious food and pizza. They also have an adjacent party and event room. Consider having your birthday or office party at Pat's Pizza. They have a pro shop and a beautiful 9-hole golf course opening in the spring. Pat's Pizza Holden.
Tonight, a beautiful Las Vegas showgirl disappears without a trace.
I was certain that someone had snatched her. I was so angry.
It's payback time. This is Vegas, baby. 2020, tonight on ABC and stream on Disney Plus and Hulu.
April is Autism Awareness Month, and one type of therapy in Texas works directly with autistic children. Horse therapy at New Hope Equine Assisted, they work with kids on the autism spectrum through therapeutic horseback riding. This facility has been up and running since 2012 in Argyle, Texas. New Hope's mission is to bring hope, healing, and happiness to all who come. Parents say that they watch their kids grow more confidence and patience throughout their time riding at New Hope. This organization also offers programs to a variety of other people with disabilities, along with veterans and first responders. Meanwhile, the Nashville Zoo celebrates a conservation milestone with the birth of a female clouded leopard cub. The cub was born on March 18th and weighs just over 2 pounds. She is the 50th clouded leopard cub born at the zoo since 1991 and the first one born this year at the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Acquitted facility. Clouded leopards are vulnerable to extinction because of habitat loss, poaching, and the illegal pet trade. Because of this, the cub is being hand-reared in accordance with the AZA Species Survival Program. Well, that's all the time that we have left for this hour, but you can join us for the second hour of Good Morning Maine. That's next on Fox 22. Have a great day, everyone.
Season, baby, welcome to Maine. Roads get messy, but
buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
I found the University Studies program, and the people were fantastic, and they helped me understand how I could really pretty easily become part of UMaine, become part of that program, and showed me that within about 2 years, I could have my degree. What I like about being able to study anywhere is Probably this. I can literally be outside on the deck. I can be in my house. I can be in another country doing my schoolwork, and it just works really well for for the life that I have.
At Spectrum, we believe a great connection shouldn't come with compromise. And now, it doesn't have to. Get Spectrum fiber-powered internet. And when you add 2 mobile phone lines, it's just $30 a month each. Experience the fastest internet and most reliable 5G network. And save $1,000 on internet and mobile in your first year. Guaranteed. That's the Spectrum Savings Guarantee. Call now or go online to save $1,000 on internet and mobile.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is the perfect line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after. Oh, this is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
Bring on the spring at the Honda Spring Event with the 2025 Kelley Blue Book Best Value brand. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
Good Morning Maine on WFVX, Fox 22. From the Great Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, Brewer police are asking residents to be on alert for fraudulent documents that are a scam. We'll have the details ahead. Plus, 2 candidates running for U.S. Senate gathered at a forum to speak with Indigenous Mainers. More on that to come. And the MDI Biolab secured more than $4 million in funding. We'll tell you about their research as well. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop. Craig Colson is off for the day. We'll have those stories and much more coming up. And as always, we thank you for joining us. The weather today looks like it'll be a partly cloudy day with highs in the upper 60s. Let's start off this morning by getting a first check of our forecast. Devin Biggs joins us now.
Alrighty, Janessa, thank you very much. Happy Friday.